participant, Roman Nasius, with a topic problem.
I'd like to tell a story of my life. Once upon a time, in a faraway village of Ploskovo in Городской region, somewhere in the far north of Russia, there lived an ordinary Russian man. Ivan, it's me. He lived as many others did. He made shoes and boots and drank tea with a lump of sugar and cracking crackers. So, he lived working at daytime and having fun on holidays. He liked listening to Russian folk songs on his old gramophone, and from time to time he played garmoshka himself. One day, he was listening to radio and learned that far away in Scotland, there lived a Scottish man, Rob Roy by name. He was born in 1671 and later became the tutor to young chief and de facto the leader of a branch of the clan. Sometimes called Scottish Robin Hood, he defends the poor, the humble and the offended. Tales of him became legend. Daniel IV wrote a pamphlet about him. King George I expressed their admiration for him, and Sir Walter Scott wrote a novel about him. But the truth is greater than legend. They, on the radio, they also said that those Scots were very strange people. They wore skirts instead of pants, played bagpipe instead of garmoshka, and had sheep instead of cows. But in general, they were very nice people. And Ivan decided to visit this country. He took his wife's skirt and tried it on. Take off his balaclava and put on shoes.
Как-то вечерком с милой шли вдвоем, а фонарики горели, и привидели к нам момент прийти, и сердца наши замляли. Люди в масках, в разных касках дружно начали плясать. Был я очень рад ночку всю подряд веселиться, танцевать. Моя Морозечка, танцуют все кругом, моя Морозечка, попляшем мы с тобой, моя Морозечка, а все так кружится, и так приятно, хорошо мне танцевать.
Ah, Alice, he didn't know what they wear on their heads. Nothing was said about it in the radio program. But if they wear skirts, they should wear feathers on their head. And we have plenty of feathers here in Russia. Ivan learned a Scottish folk song, collected 10 labels of Scotch whiskey, Johnny Walker, added his photo, and sent everything to a radio station. Soon after, a reply from the radio came.
Dear Vanya, here's the first prize you got in our international contest. Tour to Scotland. You will see how Rob Roy defends the poor. Besides, you can hang around with him, learn more about Scottish customs and traditions, exchange folklore, and take some photos for Geo magazine. relationships and strengthening peace in the world.
So, Ivan was going to develop good relations between two countries after all. In other words, to fasten Scottish-Russian friendship. But in the airport, he saw some real Scotsmen and realized that his wife had been wearing this wrong skirt. Not Scottish at all. The Scottish one is called the kilt. While they were for customs control, Ivan began to look like a real Scotsman. He made his skirt shorter, his songs longer, managed to produce a couple of songs from his bagpipe, and started dancing Scottish dances.
I'm sailing away in the morning, I'm sailing away on the tide, and when I return again, lassie, will you be my bride? Will you be my bride, me boys, will you be my bride? And when I return again, lassie, will you be my bride? Laddie, I will wait for you as long as all my life. Laddie, I will wait for you, I'll be a sailor's wife. I'll be a sailor's wife, me boys, I'll be a sailor's wife. Laddie, I will wait for you, I'll be a sailor's wife.
Ivan liked his day in Scotland immensely. Rob Roy turned out to be a real man, strong, brave, and honest. They agreed to continue to defend who were in both countries. But alas, they turned this too quickly, and Ivan had to return home. But they agreed to meet next time in Russia and to celebrate Christmas together. Welcome to Russia, Rob Roy. Russia and Scotland are forever friends. And maybe he'll bring his girlfriend with him.
and her mysterious lady blackbirds. Please welcome.
Do you know what does it mean to live in the country where relatives kill each other for the sake of power? You don't, but I do. I lived in Scotland at the time when King Malcolm II reigned. He was the last king in the direct main line to descend from Canada and Alpine, who united Scots and Picts and who is considered to be the founder of Scotland. After his murder, Duncan seized the throne as the king died. His first cousins, Macbeth and Thorfinn, united in the attempt to kill him. So, killing Duncan in 1040, Macbeth followed the example of a number of other Scottish rulers. It seems strange, but his reign was relatively long, and he seemed to have been a good king. He was generous to the church, gave money to the poor, and went to pilgrimage to Rome. Shakespeare took the history of Macbeth from Hollisham's Chronicles of England, Scotland, and Denmark. But unlike the character in Shakespeare play, Duncan was a young man. They say that Macbeth is the last of four great Shakespeare's tragedies. It is considered by many scholars to be his darkest work, where Shakespeare has a supernatural dimension that conspires against Macbeth and his kingdom. But its first performance was probably in 1606 when King of Denmark, Christian IV, arrived in London and was shown this play. Well, it was an integral part of web and the play's most memorable character. That's too late, right? Duncan called me our honored hostess. What a fool! It was his honored hostess who had decided that the fastest way to achieve sovereign sway was to kill him. I'm practical. I'm experienced and I'm ambitious. And my ambition for power led me into a natural, phantasmagoric realm of witchcraft, insomnia, and madness. While my husband responded to the prophecies of the famous trio of witches, I went a bit farther by transforming myself into a natural evil spirit. Besides, I loved my husband, and I knew him very well. And I was sure that he wanted to be the king too. And it would be great for both of us. But I assumed that he would hesitate whether to kill Duncan or not, so I was pressing. I manipulated my husband by questioning his method. I resolutely and passionately guided Margaret to commit the murder. But screw your courage to the sticking place, and will not fail when Duncan is asleep, whereas rather shall his days have Johnny soundly invite him, peace to Chamberlains, when I with wine and vessel to convince that to memory the water of the brain shall be a fume, and the receipt of reason, and limbic only when its twinish sleep. Their drenched nature is light and a death, but can let you die before upon the unguarded Duncan. What's not put upon his spongy officers who shall bear the guilt of our great crown. I have superhuman strength. Can you imagine what I did? I went back to the murder scene and smeared the grooms with Duncan's blood. I was sure that it would be enough to suppress my conscience, and that later the thought of the deed would just dissipate. But the outcome was not the pain, because Margaret and I couldn't go to sleep, and if we did, we experienced terrifying dreams. But still I was able to maintain the sanity and composure during the day, even more than my husband. Once I rested him from the frailty of his conscience when he saw the ghost of Banco and behaved strangely. But I created an excuse to explain his odd behavior. Seat-worthy friends, my lord is often theirs they have been from his youth. Pray keep seat, the fittest man will tread upon the thought he will again be well. But later, the burden of my conscience became too great for me, and my physical and mental condition deteriorated. My gentleman and my doctor took me sleep walk, and my hands were so dirty. I can't clean them of Duncan's family food. Look, what will his hands near be clean? There is a smell of blood still, and all the perfumes of their wrapper will not sweeten this little hand. Oh, wash your head. Put on your nightgown. Look not so pale. Too bad, too bad. There is knocking in the gate. What's done cannot be undone. Come to my woman's breast and take my milk for gold. Look at my hands. They're in blood. I can't wash it off. I see. I'm a witch. But water would not touch a witch because she had renounced the water of baptism. I see. This spot. Stem spot. It is a devil's mark. I had given my soul to the devil. Therefore, I'm witch myself. Dr. Reddick was right. I needed heaven more than physician.
next participant will be Valeria Нечаева.
Нечаева.
The raven himself is horse that croaks the battle entrance of Duncan under my battlements. Come, you spirits that tend on mortal thoughts, and sex me here, and fill me from the crown to the top full of the direst cruelty. Make thick my blood, stop up the excess and passage to remorse that no captious visitings of nature shake my full purpose, nor keep peace between their facts and deeds. Come to my woman's breast and take my milk for gall, you murdering ministers. Wherever in your sightless substances you wait on nature's mischief. Come, thick nights, and swallow me the dun smoke of hell, that my keen eyes see not the wounded maids, nor even peep through blankets of the dark to cry, halt, halt. Such a woman would stop at nothing. So, isn't it a tempting role? Today, I am this woman, and I'm not afraid of the fact people call this evil creature woman only because of my superficial beauty. If I wasn't beautiful and couldn't fascinate and bewitch people, I wouldn't be able to do so much harm. I look
Please welcome Mikhail Pavlov.
I remember it was in the beginning of winter when I realized that there was no more possibility to make ends meet working on that small farm. Yes, I was a farmer, as my father was before me. And so, I decided to move to Edinburgh with my wife, 15 years old son, and very little money. But I was totally jaded when on our arrival I was told that there was no work for me. It was one of the harshest winters on record, and there was no work for farmers at all. My father had always learned me never to give up, and so I went on searching. Finally, in the middle of January, I joined the police, as I saw this was the only way I could feed my family and stop them from going to the poorhouse. I was constable number 19, and my variant number was 1487. I was paid 15 shillings a week, rising to 16 shillings if I proved my worth, and I did. By the third year of my work, when we only started to get on our own feet, I decided to take a small Skye Terrier and named him Bobby, as which was the name given to the police by the locals. When I first saw my master, I was amazed by kindness and warmth coming from him. We became a very good team. Criminals, one after another, were going to prison with our help. And by the time when I had been nearly for a year with him, I promised to myself never to go anywhere without him, never to let him be alone, as I saw he loved me, and I loved him also. But unfortunately, the next day, when we were running down a thief, and I was almost so close that I could bite his heels, I heard that my master had fallen down. And when I looked back, I saw that he had knocked down a baker from eating house with a bucket full of water. I thought my master would get over only a couple of bruises, but after a week of hard illness, he died. Consumption, said doctor. I'm really very sorry. First, I didn't believe my ears. It couldn't end so fast. That day, I saw how the body of my master was taken away, and Marilyn, his wife, told to her helpmate that burial would be the next day at Greyfriars Kirkland. And I was there next day, and I saw how my master left me forever, and my happy life was buried with him also. First 3 days, I didn't know if there was any meaning in continuation of my life. I was sitting on Scarlet Square, listening to a poor man singing a song. Should all acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should all acquaintance be forgot and all long sign? And then I understood that my master has gone, but he still lives in me, in my memories. He lives in his wife and his son. He lives everywhere where he still remembers. And then I remembered my promise to him. When I first saw Bobby sitting on the grave, I was indignant. I didn't know at that moment that it was the dog of Master whose grave was situated there. And so I drove him out. But the next day, when I was doing a morning territory check, I saw him again, and I fell in thinking. And that day, at pub, I was told a story. You know, I had never considered myself as a sensitive man, but I was really touched. And I left Bobby live on his master's grave. He was loved and regularly fed at eating house. After 14 years, Greyfriars Bobby died. And the next day, in 1872, a statue was unveiled opposite my graveyard. And the headstone reads, Greyfriars Bobby died on 18th January 1872. Let his loyalty and devotion be a lesson to us all.
Наталья Крупицкая.
Good evening. You are listening to the 7 o'clock news on the first channel, Radio Caledonia. It's the 29th of November, 1949. In our program today, some new information on the Leningrad tragedy. On the 8th of September, the Riga blockade around Leningrad closed and the siege began. Leningrad ran short of food. Bread ration dropped down to 125 grams per day. People dropped dead on the streets. Running water gave out and people had to dig through the ice to get some. There is no electricity. Public transport came to a standstill. The frosts are severe, 35-37 degrees below zero, and no heat. But from our royal correspondent, we know that the city goes on fighting. Women have replaced their brothers, fathers, sons, and husbands at factories and plants producing bullets, shells, and ammunition. They are defending their city, their homes, their children, and their honor. And of course, their struggle arouses admiration among all the freedom-loving people, enemies of the Nazi Germany. Stay tuned for further information. Thank you. But they all said, as one man, sooner death shall fear us, than we shall fear death. On hearing the news, a few of my friends and me, women of two little Scottish cities, Airdrie and Coatbridge, decided to write letters to collect signatures to express our boundless admiration, respect, and support to the women who all at once became the face of the war, of the rebel, the war that never had women's features. No wonder the Leningrad tragedy touched the hearts of the Scottish women. Many people asked us, why did we do that? Why? Maybe because we have already known what war is like from our own experience. As in 1939, our men were conscripted. We had to wage all the sufferings of the war in our towns and cities and villages. By 1941, food rationing had been introduced. Our children were evacuated from inner city homes to country towns and villages. Edinburgh and Glasgow had suffered from air raids. And of course, I felt mentally close to the defenders of Leningrad, because the Scots and they have one significant thing in common. We shall never stop on our way to independence. No wonder the tragedy touched the hearts of the descendants of William Wallace and Robert Bruce, who decided to respond immediately. One of my friends, Margaret Plant, managed to collect hundreds of signatures for Leningrad. Women would stop her in the streets. The word had gone round and everyone wanted to sign. She called at factories. Everybody was working overtime then. And in some factories, so many women wanted to sign that she left the messages and the sheets of paper with the foreman. Returned to collect them the next day so that production would not be interrupted. We're confident that resolution and self-sacrifice will shatter the fascist hordes and that the brutal enemy shall never trample on your beloved city. Your fight is our fight, and we shall not fail you or be unworthy of your great sacrifice. Long 6 months, we did not know if our album will ever reach those suffering women. But it did. And imagine, at the height of the siege, in May 1942, the women of the besieged Leningrad, exhausted, weary, and frustrated from all the privations, received this clear evidence of acknowledgement and sympathy. We hoped our album to give Leningrad fighters moral strength to continue the fight and not to give in. And indeed, despite severe bombings, starvations, great losses and sufferings, the city did not surrender. The women who besieged Leningrad even managed to reply. They also collected letters and signatures to be sent to Scotland. We received their album in February 1943, and after it was presented to the citizens of Airdrie and Coatbridge, it was sent to the Mitchell Library in Glasgow. Leningrad album appeared to be a real masterpiece of art, with sketches revealing the beauty of the city, made by famous Russian artist Anna Straumova-Lebedeva. We have been moved to the depth of our souls